today's episode of TMI with Baarbs, your hostess with the mostest, me, Baarbs. So for today's video, we're going to be doing a pads versus tampons, and it's going to be a more comparison because I'm basically just going to be telling you guys why you should quit using pads and move on to the other side, the better side, which is using tampons. To be honest, guys, I don't want to lie, I don't remember when I started using tampons, but it's been over 3 years, I can proudly say, and I do not want to go back to pads. I do not like pads, and I'm a strong advocate for tampons. So I've compiled a list today of the reasons why you guys should possibly consider switching from pads to tampons. The views and opinions of this video are not solely of my own. I consulted a few friends of mine that also use tampons and family members as well. Let me just show you first how a tampon looks in case you've never seen a tampon. This is a tampon. This is how it looks. This little boy over here is a tampon. So tampons come in two different, like pads, they come in different levels. Either for heavy flow, light flow, or medium flow, and I personally use the ones for regular flow. And other than the flow variation, tampons also come either with an applicator or without an applicator, and these ones that I have today are the ones that are without the applicator. I got these ones only because of the Hunger Games that are currently going on right now, with the coronavirus and all of that. At the shops, you really can't find a lot of the things that you used to be able to find or access very easily. So I got these ones, and I'm managing. Thought that, what can I do? I'd rather use these ones than use pads, to be honest. Now let's go into why you should make the shift and get into tampons. So the list is on my phone, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking down at my phone at the points that I have written down for you guys. So one of the common misconceptions about tampons, and the biggest reason why a lot of people don't use them, is because they think that they're painful. That using a tampon, sticking up a little thing like this up your girl part is painful. But I'm here to kill that misconception and tell you that it actually is not painful. The only reason why you'd find it painful or extremely uncomfortable is if you didn't insert it properly. That is the only time that you'll find it painful or uncomfortable. If you've put it in properly and everything is good, then you have no reason to find using a tampon painful or extremely uncomfortable. The second misconception, or a lot of the times you'll find that somebody's like, oh, I'm a virgin, how is a tampon going to work for me? Isn't it gonna break my virginity? You know how people also say that riding a bicycle breaks your virginity or something like that? That is another misconception, meaning that it is wrong. Many of my friends, including close relatives, in fact started using tampons when they were still virgins, when they were still quite young. So it's not about your virginity, or it won't have anything to do with that, or it won't mess that up. That is a misconception, and it is in fact false. Tampons don't mess up your virginity, don't mess up your, it's quite false. Oh, another misconception that I remember that was told to us when we were younger is that I can't remember how exactly they said it. Apparently somebody forgot that tampon inside of them, and then they ended up getting cancer or something, and that does not make sense. If you actually actively use tampons, that will make sense to you, as it doesn't make sense to me. One, there's a string, as when you put the tampon inside of you, there's a string that you take and then you put like in the middle of your butt crack. You just put it in your butt crack, and then so that when it's time for you to get out the tampon, you just tug on the string and then the tampon comes out. So I've never had an instance, or I personally have never had an instance where that string detaches itself from the actual tampon or anything like that. And like I said, the people around me as well have not had a situation like that, so that is highly unlikely and almost, I don't want to say impossible, but quite, yeah, highly unlikely. Let's just say highly unlikely that could happen to you. Now if we explore the few reasons that I have written down here why tampons are more preferable, why I personally prefer using tampons more than pads, and the points from many other people around me is that, one, freedom of movement. You guys know that when you're using a pad, you can't do whatever it is you want. You can't sit however it is that you want, because one mistake, that pad is going to shift sideways or shift another way, and once you let out a whole of blood, you're probably going to end up staining yourself, because now your pad has moved and it's just not really helping you out that much anymore. So that is one of the reasons why I suggest using a tampon, is because the tampon is in you. Whether you move that way or move that way, or you have your leg up or you have your leg down, you're still secure. That leads me to point number 2, which is the fact that tampons are very good for people that are active. If you're a person that's active, you like going to the gym, or you're generally a sports person, then tampons are the one for you. Like I said, you are free to move up, move down, leg up, leg down, anything, and the security will still be there, and you won't mess yourself and you won't have any problems. Also, together with the second point about sports, is that when you're using a tampon, you're able to swim. It's not quite possible to swim with a pad on, obviously, because it's, you know what a pad is. The second you get in the water, it's just going to absorb all of the water. Whereas the tampon is in you, it is up in you. Therefore, you are secure. You are not going to mess, or your blood is not going to flow around in the water. Basically, you are free to live your life when you have a tampon. You're free to do anything, be anything, be who you wanna be.
Handle me? Who gon' handle me?
Go where you wanna go. Be your natural active self when you're using a tampon versus when you're using a pad. Ooh, another one is that pads, especially the ones that have wings. Have you ever had an instance or an occurrence where the wings of your pad have caught onto one of your pubic hairs? That is the most uncomfortable feeling ever. It is so stinging and it is a little bit painful. So that's one of the reasons why I just don't like pads, because you just have to fight with the wings, you have to fight with the alignment. Using pads just needs so much alignment, so much effort. One mistake, the pad has moved sideways, you're lying down or you're sleeping at night, and you possibly have to sleep in a certain way just to make sure that your pad is properly aligned and well aligned, and you're not going to have a mess on your hands. Honestly, I can't stand it. So these are now points that are personal to me, and I know a lot of people that use tampons would agree with me on these points. However, I don't have any scientific backing for these points, but these are my personal experiences with using tampons. Is that, one, honestly, I feel like tampons decrease cramps and PPs, what we call PPs, period pains, and just the general discomfort that comes with your period. It is reduced extremely when you're using tampons. Like, I swear, when I'm using pads versus when I'm using tampons, the discomfort and me being miserable is reduced a lot when I'm using tampons versus when I'm using pads. I honestly just feel so miserable when I'm using pads. I don't know how, I don't know why, but honestly, I feel I don't get, my pains are not as extreme when I'm using tampons. Another thing, again, I don't have any facts to back this, but tampons also personally reduce the length of my cycle. So when I'm using pads, I find that I'm on my period for maybe about 4 days, about 4 or 5 days. But when I'm using tampons, I'm on my period for about 3 days, 2.5 to 3 days, but mostly 3 days. So not just me and all my girls that use tampons are living this glorious life. Honestly, I just sound like I'm just fluffing it up and making tampons seem like the best thing ever. But I'm not even lying to you guys. I'm literally, all these things I'm saying right now are facts, are my life, I swear. In terms of how to properly apply a tampon, because a tampon, as I'd mentioned before at the beginning of the video, once you experience pain or discomfort when you're using a tampon or when you've put in your tampon, it's highly likely you haven't put in your tampon properly. And in order to avoid this, what I would strongly recommend is that you should use the tampons that have applicators. So unfortunately right now I cannot show you guys how the applicator looks, but I'm going to insert a picture on the screen here how a tampon with an applicator comes. It's basically like a sort of a cardboard that's around the tampon, and what you're gonna do is that it's two boxes like this, two boxes like this, and then you're gonna push this other box into this other box, and as you push, the tampon is going to inside of you. I got to inside. Applicators are really good for precision. They are precise. They get your tampon in, no problem, no fuss, no mess. Versus just using this and your finger and just inside of you. So other than that, if you are like me and were unable to find the tampons with the applicator, the method that I will strongly recommend is that you should put your leg on top of your bathtub or on top of your bed rail or bed headboard, whatever, and then you inside. The reason why I'm saying this specifically is because I've explored other methods as well, such as squatting or just sitting down on the toilet and pushing it in. No, for precision, for extreme precision, if you want to make sure your tampon is in correctly, I recommend putting your leg up the bathtub. The other ones, such as squatting, I've had a few mistakes where I guess I didn't put in the tampon correctly. And another telling sign that you didn't put in your tampon properly is that there will be some leaking. So if there's some leakage, you know, I did not put in this tampon properly. So like I said, the best method to avoid all of that, to avoid discomfort and to avoid leaking, is putting your leg on top of the bathtub or your bed rail or something, or just any surface that is heightened. Even the toilet seat, putting your leg on top of the toilet seat. So on that note, leaking. Some people are still not 100% trusting of tampons and the ability to just take up all of your blood and not leave any mess at all. So to avoid that, I would recommend using panty liners with your tampon. Another thing that I'm going to tell you, this is the tea now, is that the thing with tampons is that they work best when your period is at its heaviest. Usually people's cycle is at its heaviest on the 2 out of the 3 days that they're on that period, or the 3 out of the 4 days that they're on that period. So, or 3 out of 5 days, it really depends on who you are. But those are the days where I would personally recommend using the tampon, and then the other days I'd recommend either using a panty liner or a pad, whatever you prefer. But because tampons work best when the lubrication from the blood is there. If now the well is dry and you're just releasing droplets, it's a little bit uncomfortable to push in your tampon. So I would recommend using it on the 3 out of 4 days that you're on your menstrual cycle. So the 2 tampon brands that I would recommend are Lillette's and Kotex. These are the Lillette's ones that I use. And the applicator box comes way larger than this one. And I bet you always wondered, Kante, what is this big box? It's the tampons that have applicators. That's why it's so big. Another brand that I'd recommend based off of a friend's recommendation are the Kotex tampons. So if you use tampons and you have any recommendations that you'd like to give, please include that in the comment section for anybody else that's interested. But I personally have been using Lillette's. I love and swear by the Lillette's ones. So I think I've explored most of the points that I had for you guys here today. And yeah, if you're still afraid of using a tampon, girl, it really isn't that deep. I don't want to lie to you, it's not that deep. Just go for it. You will thank me later, I swear. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. Bye.